October, Deborah Sexton with PCMA, she's our executive director, fearless leader of PCMA, came out and we met with Roberta. We started talking about this idea back in October, and Roberta was just let me know when, and was immediately willing to help. And I just want to say personally, thank you so much for that and being willing to be part of this. Linda Minzor, I've known you for years, and I knew that from a corporate perspective, there's nobody who has been through more pitfalls probably than Linda Minzor. Yes, that's a good thing. Badge of courage. Of course, Burgess, very well known in the area, and we have not met, so it was wonderful to finally meet you. And when I was at PCMA Annual in Vegas, and it was a little bit of a blur, but David came up to me and said, "Hey, if you need any help with anything," and I'm like, "I do." Immediately. You never said that to me, by the way. But I said, we're really looking to do some moderating. And of course, anyone who knows David knows he's the king of this. This is his forte, and he's going to do that. So he told me not to do a bio, but I won't. So I'll just praise David for being able to be part of this, and let's have a great program.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. We promised we will have you out of here by 1:30. So just to kick things off, my name is David Klein. I run a communications consulting company right across the Golden Gate Bridge right there over in Sausalito. I run think tanks and do research and strategic planning for destination marketing organizations and tourism organizations. To my left, we have Burgess. Tell us who you are and why you joined us today to win prizes on the show.
I didn't come for the prizes.
I'm just kidding.
My name is Burgess Angeles, and I own a company called Beeline Events. And I started my career working for a site selection firm, and then started Beeline as a full-service event planning. And we've been around since about 2003.
And you're based?
Plenty of pitfalls.
Right here in San Francisco?
Yes, right here in San Francisco.
Great. Linda?
Well, I'm Linda Mansourian, and I work for Cisco Systems now for about 5 years. I'm a program manager. Just recently we reorganized, and I fall under our global events in the marketing department. Prior to that, I was really in finance. So right now, the programs that I manage and have been managing for the last 2 years are virtual programs and hybrid events. And I know that when Brian asked me to have a focus for this panel today, I said, let's focus on what I know for the last 2 years. Prior to that, I was president of MPI back in 2002, 2003. And currently, I'm serving as membership director for GMIC, and it's because I'm passionate about sustainability. And not only that—
So Green Meetings Industry Council.
Green Meetings Industry Council. And I was just elected to the position of president-elect for Northern California. Thank you. And it's great because I bring that back. I'm on the global green team for Cisco, and so anything that I learn and the foundation about sustainability, I actually bring back to the whole global team. So
great.
That's what I am.
Welcome. And last but not least, Roberta Kravitz.
I'm Roberta Kravitz. I'm with the International Society for Magnetic Resonance in Medicine. We're based over in Berkeley. Nice place to be. And it was a little bit hard to say no to Brian and Deborah Sexton, especially when they're applying really great food and wine. So anyway, it's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure to be here. We put on international meetings. We're an international membership organization, and we put on meetings all around the world. We have a very large annual meeting that we do on a 4-year rotation in North America, 2 years in North America, and then 1 year in Europe, and 1 year in Asia in the Pan-Pacific region. We also put on a lot of smaller workshops internationally. We have one coming up in Montreal, Germany, one in Milan, and but we also just did one in Lake Louise, which was my favorite place in the world. And so we do probably altogether about 20, 25 events a year, but our main focus is the annual meeting, which is the Monster in the Box.
Great. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 3 subjects here: hotel negotiations and contracting, hybrid and virtual meetings, and then global meetings. And we're going to have a conversation here, sort of Merv Griffin, Phil Donahue, opera type of style. And while Burgess and I are going to start talking about hotel contracting, I invite any of the panelists to jump in and comment on anything that you feel comfortable talking about. Starting with hotel contracting, I think it's no secret that the market is hardening. And I've got some hot off the press data from PKF, a primary research organization, is saying that they expect a 7.1% increase in RevPAR, revenue per available room, for U.S. hotels in 2011. 7% increase in RevPAR. So for the planners in the room, how many buyers in the room by show of hands? 2, 5, no. So the rest of you are suppliers. It's no surprise that it's been a buyer's market for a long time. With this sort of hardening in the market, with rates increasing, what are you seeing in terms of what you're experiencing around your contracts, negotiations, or renegotiations that you're experiencing?
Well, I think renegotiation is definitely the term to use for what we've been going through over the past few years. But I think, those of us who've been in the industry for a while, like that, we know that it's going to be a buyer's market, and then it's going to be a seller's market, and then it's going to be a buyer's market again, and it's going to be a seller's market. And I'm always really hesitant when negotiating multi-year contracts as to what is the room rate going to be. You always want to get a great deal.
Sure.
Want to sign a contract that doesn't have a room rate. And then I realized, well, even if this contract does get signed, we can always go back and renegotiate. So you really have to negotiate the best terms that you can at that moment. And, there's probably a lot of different nightmare stories about when the economy crashed and hotels weren't willing to renegotiate their rates, but I really didn't run into a lot of that. I really thought that the hotels were very willing to renegotiate a rate because they want to fill their rooms as well.
So you're experiencing past, in the future and in the near term, still flexibility from hoteliers and other suppliers around the value of your business and, if needed, renegotiating to make it work. Is that a fair statement?
I really have, and again, I'm sure there's some nightmare stories out there about people that weren't willing to renegotiate, but I think now more than ever, I really see the value of great partnerships, being a planner with the hotels, because there's constantly renegotiating going on, and we're constantly going through different things, and you never know what's around the corner. I remember when I first started, I would just try to negotiate like an ironclad contract, and I would drive myself crazy of like filling it with details and details of what if. But I've stepped away from that a bit, knowing that, I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know where the economy is going to go, and I sleep a little better at night knowing that, and have been around for a while and experienced and know that you can work it out. It's always something you can go back to. And the contracts that we've negotiated for multiple years, every single one of them, I'm going back and negotiating something. Whether it's modifying the room block or the meeting space, there's constantly renegotiations going on. So I don't feel as restrained as I used to when a contract is signed.
So what about this much talked about and highly desirable from some perspectives, lowest rate guarantees? Talk about, in this world of social media, internet, ability to put inventory online and sell it at a myriad of different rates, what are the pluses and minuses around lowest rate guarantees?
Well, it's interesting because Beeline has been hosting some hotel contract workshops, and this issue has come up a lot, and I've learned a lot just from hosting the workshop because there's a lot of discussion that goes on. And the first point to that is the internet rates, and those I think are really separate from a lowest clause rate, because a lowest clause rate is really when you're talking about a piece of group business.
Sure.
But an internet rate, those are not going to go away. They're here to stay. We hate them. They're a thorn in the side. But I think the best thing you can do is when I have a client that says, oh my God, my executive went online and they got this $99 rate or whatever, and I say, well, good for him. Tell him to book it. Tell him he did a great job. And then make sure that you have the clause in your contract where you're going to get credit for that room night in your contract. But that's just happening. I mean, I had it happen the other day where the hotel said they didn't have a certain amount of rooms on one night, and then the client went online and booked 4 rooms, you know, at a way higher rate, but she still got 4 rooms, and we weren't able to get any. And I just said, good for you, that's so awesome.
Right,
You know,
grab
like,
and go.
we're beating the system or something. Because it's a totally separate thing. The internet rates are run by different departments in the hotels than the sales office. So you can't help it that those two aren't coming together. And a lot of times those internet rates, it's actually your fault if you didn't fill your box.
Sure.
Because you're leaving it
You're leaving it open for the hotel.
Totally. So
What about, you know, with this almost unimaginable situation in Japan, force majeure comes to mind. With just, how do you anticipate the unimaginable? And what are you seeing with force majeure, not specifically to Japan, but, well, if you have experience there, Roberta has done meetings there, but specifically around force majeure, what are you seeing in the world today around this?
Well, I learned something interesting about force majeure in my contracts workshop, and again, I'm not a lawyer or anything.
But you play one on TV.
But I pretend that I do. I love like making up clauses and making them sound like lawyers. But if a force majeure type of situation happens for your meeting, it's not legal to not let you out of the contract. The force majeure clauses are really there for our comfort. That really, you know, if a tsunami happens in